In the United States, a fierce conflict is taking place on the huge agricultural fields that are spread out over the country. The adversaries that appear to be innocent are actually causing a great deal of destruction: wild boars. This struggle has resulted in the development of sophisticated techniques and traps, which have caused the destruction of crops and the disturbance of the lives of farmers. As you follow this frightening journey, you will see how American farmers deal with the unexpected storm. As you can see, this is a potato field that has recently been tilled. There was a sudden appearance of a herd of wild boars, which prevented planting from taking place. The number of additional pigs that are hiding in the shadows and out of sight is unknown to anyone. These individuals are causing damage to the cornfields that are on the verge of being harvested. The farmers are fuming as they watch the young corn being devoured in its entirety, the soil being trampled upon, and the farmers standing by. The storm started off with a ferocity. At this point, every plan was put into action in order to eradicate these dangerous beings. As the conflict began, the question arises: which tactic is the most effective in preventing this destruction? To begin, many farmers employ the practice of placing bait directly in the midst of the cornfield, which is the area where wild boars are most likely to do damage. Nevertheless, this proves to be a grave error. There are a lot of drawbacks associated with putting traps and bait in the midst of the cornfield. Both visibility and viewing spots are restricted, and there are not many of them. There is, in point of fact, just one location where they can be identified, and that is outside of the cornfield, where the boars are causing damage to the crops. How exactly do we go about locating these wild boars? Scent dogs have been utilized by certain farmers in order to assist in the detection of traces and to bring the herd out of hiding. Some people have employed drones, which are a contemporary instrument that assists in observing and removing them from regions that are difficult to access. Farmers now have the ability to place traps since effective tracking methods are available. There is a wide variety of traps that are found. Cage traps that are activated by a phone and net traps with one-way mesh are the most frequent types of traps. These traps allow wild boars to enter but prohibit them from escaping. As a result of these traps, wild boars are captured. In order to prevent wild boars from ruining farms, they are able to capture entire herds of the animals. The majority of traps are not high-tech. There are some farmers who construct their own passive traps, which consist of doors made of wood and steel, measuring 6 millimeters. In spite of their apparent simplicity, these traps have an impressively high level of efficiency. The doors are constructed in such a way that they can only be pushed in and not pulled out, which helps to ensure that wild boars remain confined for as long as possible. There are some farmers who employ snares, which is a practice that is quite simple but nonetheless very efficient. Providing that they are adequately strengthened, the traps have the capability of capturing wild boars that weigh up to 300 pounds. In the process of catching wild boars, this is one of the extremely easy tactics that has proven to be effective. For the purpose of hunting wild boars in wide areas, farmers and hunters often use airplanes. In spite of the fact that it is an expensive strategy, this sport is both entertaining and beneficial in terms of eliminating wild boars in areas where traps are unable to reach them. In addition, farmers in Brazil are confronted with the challenge of wild boars devouring their crops. Some farmers have devised a solution to the problem by creating trenches that are approximately 6 feet deep. The purpose of these trenches is to prevent wild boars from climbing into the sugarcane and maize fields. In the event that the wild boars attempt to cross, they will automatically fall into the trench, which will make it very simple to manage them. In the fight against wild boars, there is a lengthy and difficult war to be fought. On the other hand, farmers have been able to secure their crops thanks to the techniques and developments that involve the use of traps and technology. This battle is still going on, and if suitable steps are not taken, these pests will never cease wreaking havoc on the environment. If you are a supporter of farmers and a fan of the natural world, please give this video a like and share your thoughts in the comments section. This is a fight not only for one individual, but for all those who are involved in agriculture, for each of us to safeguard the land and construct a future that is conducive to sustainability. Please consider subscribing to my channel if you find the posted content to be helpful. Beyond the fields, another battlefield exists: the rivers and wetlands. Not only are wild boars capable of destroying crops, but they are also proficient swimmers. During the night, they frequently travel across rivers, so encroach on new farmlands and spreading their destructive trail further. It is imperative that farmers who live in close proximity to waterways construct more robust barriers, as even the tiniest gap can result in significant losses if an entire herd manages to cross it. Wild boars are not only harmful to agriculture, but they also cause disruptions to ecosystems. In their pursuit for roots and insects, they remove the soil, leaving behind bare areas of land before moving on. As a result of this devastation, biodiversity is diminished, and circumstances are created for invasive plant species to take control. What starts with a herd of boars might end up causing long-term damage to the environment that is impossible to recover. The ripple effect is enormous. A further cause for concern is illness. There is a possibility that wild boars carry viruses and parasites that can quickly spread to livestock. Farmers who rear cattle, goats, or poultry live in continual terror of illnesses moving from these wild intruders to their prized herds. This worry is a permanent state of mind for many farmers. It is possible that the economic repercussions may be devastating, not only for individual farmers but also for entire communities of farmers. Technology is providing a new source of hope, which is a positive development. Thermal cameras and motion sensors are utilized in certain places for the purpose of monitoring fields during the nighttime hours. The moment movement is detected, these gadgets send a warning to the farmers, enabling them to take immediate action. Once upon a time, this game consisted of a never-ending game of guessing, but now it is a war fought using real-time data. Meanwhile, researchers are analyzing the behavior of wild boars in order to gain a better understanding of the patterns of migration and the cycles of mating. Communities can better organize their defenses if they are able to anticipate when and where herds will be more active. As a result, the conflict shifts from being fought using individual difficulties to being fought using collective efforts, with knowledge becoming the most potent weapon. Nevertheless, in spite of all these advancements, the wild boar continues to be a fearsome adversary. When it comes to agriculture, they are one of the most difficult pests to deal with because of their intelligence, adaptability, and resilience. Not only is the war about saving crops, but it is also about protecting livelihoods, ecosystems, and the delicate balance that exists between humans and nature. Another interesting thing is, wild boars are not only destructive, but also highly elusive. In fact, most of their activity takes place at night. Under the cover of darkness, they slip silently into fields, causing extensive damage before disappearing at dawn. Farmers often call this a ghost war, because by the time the sun rises, the animals are gone, leaving behind nothing but devastation. What makes the challenge even greater is their intelligence. Wild boars quickly learn from experience. Once they encounter traps or barriers, they adapt and find new ways to avoid them. This forces farmers to constantly change their strategies, turning the struggle into a relentless game of cat and mouse, where the animals seem to stay one step ahead. Moreover, their rapid population growth adds to the crisis. A single sow can give birth to multiple litters each year, producing up to a dozen piglets at a time. This exponential growth means that what starts as a small herd can soon swell into a massive population, overwhelming farmers' defenses in just a few seasons. At the same time, the damage is not limited to agriculture alone. Wild boars also create hidden economic costs. They destroy fences, damage irrigation systems, and even pose dangers on nearby roads when they suddenly dash across, causing traffic accidents. Repairing this infrastructure can be even more expensive than replacing the lost crops. On the other hand, some communities see opportunity in the problem. In many regions, wild boar meat is considered a delicacy. This has sparked debate. Could controlling their numbers through hunting also provide a sustainable food source for local markets? By transforming a pest into a valuable resource, some argue that humans can turn the threat into an advantage. However, this leads to an ethical dilemma. While wild boars are harmful to farming, they are still part of the natural ecosystem. Conservationists warn that excessive eradication could upset the balance of local wildlife. The question then is not simply how to eliminate them, but how to coexist in a way that maintains both farming security and ecological health. Ultimately, this issue connects farmers worldwide. From Texas to Tuscany, and from Brazil to Southeast Asia, the struggle against wild boars is shared across continents. By exchanging knowledge, whether through smart fencing, drone technology, or ecological farming methods, farmers can learn from one another's successes and failures, building a global network of solutions to this growing problem.